Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Find a living in fisheries. The UAS Fisheries Technology Program offers online study from anywhere in Alaska, plus labs and workshops in many Alaska towns.
Is most likely a chum.
Find your living without leaving where you are. Fisheries Technology from UAS.
The National Weather Service.
Good evening and welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm Sam Albanese from the National Weather Service. And to start with today's weather, we'll take a look at our satellite imagery over the state of Alaska. And there's a couple of things going on. We have this low pressure system that's been in the Gulf of Alaska and also a system that I'm standing in front of right now in the Bering Sea. We'll focus on this one first as we run this. You can see this frontal system that kind of rolled up along the coastal portions of southeast Alaska, arcs all the way around through the Gulf. Generally not a lot of precip with it, but it's keeping clouds and precip in southeast Alaska. Taking a look at the Bering Sea portion of this thing, we have this system out here. It's a rather large low pressure system. The front extends down through the Aleutian Islands. Windy conditions in advance of that front, windy conditions behind it. Cold air circulating in behind that system is also going to bring some results in snow showers. Taking a look at today's weather map. Here's that low pressure system I was talking about in satellite imagery. Rain and showers throughout much of southeast Alaska, further north into the northern panhandle, that Haines-Skagway area. That's going to be snow, and we're looking at the potential for about between 6 and 8 inches of snow through tomorrow afternoon there. Along the North Gulf Coast, some rain in the outer coastal areas wasn't really impacting the inland areas. Another thing that was going on is with the colder air that settled into place into the eastern interior and up on the Arctic coast, flurries and fog were prevalent throughout much of the state today. This weak low pressure area over the southwest portion of the state, the Kuskokwim Delta region, some scattered snow showers or scattered areas of light snow are occurring across those regions. And then we have our low pressure system out in the Bering Sea with the front, and this system is going to take a track to the east, but in advance of it, a mixture of rain and snow over the central to western Aleutian Islands with snow showers in around the back side of that system with the cold air there. Taking a look now at the forecast for tonight. Low pressure off the North Gulf Coast, northern panhandle. Rain throughout much of southeast Alaska. A mix of rain and snow as you move further north towards the Juneau area and then up into the Haines-Skagway area, white past that region. Snowy conditions can be anticipated. A mixture of rain and snow along that North Gulf Coast, possibly even as far west as Cordova. Otherwise, there's a chance that you may see some precipitation in the Prince William Sound area with this rather weak low. Flurries and fog over the eastern interior right on up to the Arctic coast. Scattered snow showers or a chance of snow showers throughout much of western Alaska from the Seward Peninsula south. In the Bering Sea and the Aleutian Islands, our low pressure system, the main center, is going to stay to the western Bering Sea with the front elongating to the east. Windy, wet conditions going across the eastern Aleutian Islands through tonight, and that's going to spread across the Alaska Peninsula in the overnight hours. Behind the frontal system, windy conditions with a mixture of rain and snow showers, and then further out west towards Shemya, pretty much all snow showers. Sometimes you can be expecting your visibilities, or you should expect your visibility to be pretty low in the blowing snow in those snow showers. Taking a look now at Monday's forecast. Trough of low pressure persisting along the outer coastal areas of southeast Alaska with a weak low pressure system in the North Gulf Coast. Some rain showers in the southern panhandle, mixture of rain and snow showers a little bit further north, and that snow tapering off in the afternoon in the Haines-Skagway area, or at least diminishing in intensity. There's a possibility that you may see some rain or snow in that Prince William Sound area. Flurries and fog in the eastern interior on up to the eastern Brooks Range, as well as portions of the Arctic coast, can be expected to persist. We should see some breaks in the clouds over the western Brooks Range in that Kotzebue Sound area. Taking a look again at the Bering Sea and the Alaska Peninsula, the front basically dissipates to a trough kind of like the Arctic frontal boundary is setting up at this point. Some rain and snow can be expected along the Alaska Peninsula to the eastern Aleutian Islands and even just off the coast of the Bristol Bay region. Rain and snow likely in the Pribilof Islands with snow further to the west. Some snow showers out into the extreme western Aleutian Islands out at Shemya. Taking a look now at the forecast for Tuesday, low pressure and a stronger low is going to move into the Gulf. That's going to bring a shot of wind or potentially some wind into the outer coastal areas, but that'll be late in the day Tuesday. Showers in the southern panhandle, a mixture of rain and snow showers in the central panhandle, and not looking like you're going to have any precipitation in the northern panhandle, chance of it, but generally cloudy there. Weak low pressure in the sound, generally just cloudy conditions associated with that. Much of the interior is going to remain in the cloud cover. Breaks in the clouds, basically some clear conditions from the Kotzebue Sound area in along the Brooks Range to the eastern Brooks Range in that eastern Arctic coastal region. Low pressure in the eastern Bering Sea from the Pribilof Islands to the Bristol Bay region. It's going to result in a mixture of rain and snow showers across the Alaska Peninsula with snow or snow showers in the Pribilof Islands. And then along the Aleutian Islands themselves, the winds will be letting up as the system is weakening and the ridges to the south. Expect a variability in your cloud cover throughout the Aleutian Islands for Tuesday. Taking a look now at temperatures around the state. Southeast Alaska saw temperatures generally in the 30s, mid to upper 30s to the south, low 30s to the north. Outer coastal areas of the North Gulf Coast in the upper 30s, 30s as you move further inland, 20s in the northern Cook Inlet region, single digits further to the north, some sub-zero readings, minus teens in the Copper River Basin, same thing in the eastern interior. Moving on up to the Arctic coastal regions and the Brooks Range. Cooler conditions, these were the afternoon temperatures, 29 below at Circle, 9 below through the pass there, single digits above and below along the Arctic coast. Seward Peninsula and Kotzebue Sound, single digits to near 20. Southwestern Alaska, you'll see 20s in the Kuskokwim Delta, 20s and 30s in Bristol Bay, 30s along the Alaska Peninsula, mid-30s in the Pribilof Islands and the eastern Aleutian Islands, as well as out to the Adak area. Taking a look at our low temperatures for tonight, expect temperatures in southeast Alaska not to budge much, staying in the 30s, low 30s to the north, high 30s to the south. South central region dropping down into the teens to single digits, staying at negative teens in the Copper River, negative teens in the eastern interior to staying right at about 29 below up there at Circle, minus teens along the Arctic coast to single digits below, single digits above in the Norton Sound area, dropping down to around 10 degrees over southwestern Alaska to the teens in the Bristol Bay region, 20s and 30s across the Alaska Peninsula and mid-30s in the Pribilof Islands, and low 30s out across the central and western Aleutian Islands. For the highs tomorrow, expect your temperatures to stay in the 30s in southeast Alaska to near 40 in the southern panhandle, 20s along the North Gulf Coast. Staying cool in the interior, we're going to be in this cooling trend now going through the week. Single digits below zero throughout much of the eastern interior to the minus teens up along the Arctic coast, single digits above over the Seward Peninsula, teens over southwestern Alaska to the teens and 20s in Bristol Bay. Expect your temperatures in the mid-30s over the Alaska Peninsula, low 30s over the eastern Aleutians, mid-30s in the Pribilof Islands, and low 30s out over the central and western Aleutian Islands. Flying weather for tomorrow, marginal to IFR conditions in southeast Alaska, some marginal to IFR conditions in the cloudy conditions over the Prince William Sound area and the Kenai Peninsula. Some areas of marginal conditions with the flurries and fog over the eastern interior. Same thing along the Arctic coast, marginal conditions over southwestern Alaska with IFR conditions over the Alaska Peninsula as well as portions of the Bering Sea and IFR conditions over the St. Lawrence Island region. For your passes tomorrow, expect VFR conditions for Anaktuvik as well as Adigan Pass. Marginal conditions as we move on down to Lake Clark and Merrill Pass. Marginal to IFR conditions in Rainy Pass. VFR conditions in Windy Pass as well as Isabel Pass and Mentasta Pass. Expect VFR conditions there. VFR conditions for Tonita Pass and then down to Portage Pass. Expect conditions to be IFR to marginal conditions at times. IFR conditions for Chilkoot and White Pass. For our freezing levels at the surface through the majority of the state around 1,000 feet over the Bering Sea and the Aleutian Islands and to 2,000 feet down through the Dixon Entrance region. Taking a look at the icing for tomorrow, some occasional moderate icing from your freezing level to 10,000 feet from the Pribilof Islands to the Alaska Peninsula, isolated moderate rime icing along the Aleutian Islands and the western Alaska Peninsula. Your jet stream is about 135 knot jet coming off of the Korean Peninsula south of the Aleutian Islands, 90 knot jet south of the Alaska Peninsula and the Gulf of Alaska, and 80 knots over the state of Washington as it makes landfall. Tomorrow's 9,000-foot winds. Expect generally light winds throughout the majority of the mainland. 20-knot winds down through that Dixon Entrance region. 30 to 35 knot winds in that eastern Bering Sea to the Alaska Peninsula to 45 knots over the eastern Aleutian Islands. Stronger winds as we get further to the west there, with 35 to 40 knot winds over the western Aleutian Islands to 55 knots south of the chain there. Taking a look now at your down to the 3,000-foot level. Light winds over southeast Alaska with 20 knot winds offshore. Light and variable winds over much of the mainland. Light winds over the eastern Arctic coast with about 25 to 35 knot winds over that northwest Arctic coast as well as the Seward Peninsula. Expect your winds to be about 30 to 35 knots across the Alaska Peninsula to the eastern Aleutian Islands, dropping off to 25 knots over the Pribilof Islands and the central Aleutian Islands, and 30 to 35 knot winds over that western Aleutian Island region. And you can see where our low pressure system is in that western Bering Sea with some stronger winds wrapped around that system out there. Taking a look at your turbulence for tomorrow. Not much turbulence throughout the majority of the state, except out in the Aleutian Islands where we have those stronger low-level winds across the rugged terrain out there. Occasional moderate turbulence below 2,000 feet above ground level in that region. And that wraps up this portion of the show. Enjoy the segment and come back to the marine forecast.
ISMA, the International Snowmobile Manufacturers Association, whose members are Artco, Bombardier, Polaris, and Yamaha, is proud to present Safe Riders. You make snowmobiling safe. To truly enjoy snowmobiling, it's important to take your time and get used to the machine and how it reacts on the snow. There are a few key things that will provide you better control and assist you in mastering driving techniques. There are 4 common riding positions: sitting, kneeling, standing, and posting. Each is designed to work best for specific situations. Sitting is the most common riding position. With your feet flat on the running boards and the footwells, they can work like shocks to absorb the bumps. Sitting keeps your weight low and easy to shift. This is the recommended position for carrying passengers if your snowmobile is designed for carrying a passenger. The kneeling position is best for side hilling and steep grades. The increased height helps at road crossings. It does take some getting used to, so practice it at a slow speed. Standing is used when greater visibility is required. It's used at road crossings. Posting is a semi-sitting position that allows the legs to work as shock absorbers in rough and washboard terrain. Regardless of which position you choose to ride, never stick your feet out to assist with turning or stopping. Shifting your weight on a snowmobile provides you better control while negotiating corners and hills. By leaning into a turn, this transfers your body weight to the inside of the machine, providing better traction for a more controlled turn. When side hilling, assume the kneeling position and lean into the hill to place pressure on the uphill side of the track. If the snowmobile has been designed and built for a passenger, and you're going to carry a passenger, be sure to explain to them that he or she should lean with you on corners and hills. As well, inform the passengers to always hold on to either the passenger hand grips or seat strap, and to never let his or her feet come off the running boards. As a general rule of operation, always ride with a buddy that has their own separate machine. As you ride more, you will encounter many different types of terrain and be required to perform maneuvers that call for specific know-how. Here's an overview of how to handle some of the most common. Hill riding requires proper leaning and throttle control to be handled successfully. When going up a hill, lean forward on the machine and provide enough throttle to get you to the top. Stay to the right and never stop on the hill. If you stop while going uphill, you may find you dig in and get stuck. When riding downhill, loss of control is the hazard awaiting the inexperienced. While in the sitting position, pump the brake off and on to establish a safe, controlled speed of descent. Be careful not to lock up your track and go into a skid. Keep the clutch engaged while on the downhill to prevent the track from freewheeling and losing control. There is a rhythm of brake and gas that needs to be established. If you're at the top of a hill with other snowmobiles coming up, it's a good idea to allow them to pass you before you attempt to go down. Road crossings are common when riding. these intersections, you must come to a complete stop. Always make sure there are no vehicles coming from any direction before crossing. When clear, cross at a 90-degree angle, the shortest path across. In group riding, the leader will cross first and then direct the remaining riders as to when they can cross safely. Oftentimes, large snowbanks line both sides of the roadway, forcing snowmobilers to come down off one, only to climb up another on the other side of the road. To come off the bank, post and lean into the top of the bank as you descend. Never attempt this if a vehicle is approaching. Climb the snowbank, post, lean into the bank, and apply only enough throttle to climb the bank. Remember, skis and tracks do not respond to pavement as they do on snow. Your steering is very limited, so always cross at a 90-degree angle. The rules surrounding riding on roadways are different everywhere you go, so check locally for details. Where riding on roadways is permitted, the same laws apply to a snowmobile as they apply to a car. No drinking and driving, no speeding, and adhere to the local signage. Remember, you must obey school bus lights and give the proper right-of-way. When approaching a railway crossing, a safe rider stops completely and checks both ways to ensure no train is coming. Never trust signal lights. Always check for yourself. When it comes to riding frozen lakes and rivers, you must use the utmost care. Traveling on ice can be dangerous. Ride with a buddy and know before you go. Always check with local clubs or authorities for the ice conditions. The very nature of ice is foreign to good control of a snowmobile. Steering is minimal, and uncontrolled spins are an ever-present danger. Beware of ice pressure ridges, thin ice, and open water. If you fall through the ice, the proper way to get out is to elevate yourself at the ice edge and get your stomach out first. Then, pull yourself forward or roll away from the hole until it is safe to stand. If you ride on ice, you may want to consider carrying a tool to assist in pulling yourself out and away from the hole. Drowning is a leading cause of snowmobile fatalities, so if you don't know, don't go. Also, the presence of previous tracks does not ensure a safe route across ice. The mountains are known for the incredibly deep powder they can provide snowmobilers. This calls for a different style of riding and some additional knowledge on the rider's part. Avalanches can occur, so it's wise to check in with local authorities. When snowmobiling in mountainous regions, always carry equipment such as probes, shovels, and locators. When riding at night, the first thing you want to do is slow down. A safe rider knows his visibility is limited by the beam of his snowmobile's headlights. Excessive speed for conditions will leave insufficient reaction time to negotiate corners and other surprises you may be faced with. All lights must be in excellent working order and should be checked while riding to remove any snow buildup. If you ride at night, ride with another snowmobiler. Carry a flashlight and flare. The idea is see and be seen. If you stop at night, always pull off the trail. At some point in your riding career, you will get stuck. This is something that can be easily handled if you're prepared. A safe rider will have a buddy to assist in getting the sled out of trouble. First, you lift the back end onto new ground to allow the track better traction. Clear away any excess snow from under the front. Next, apply power to get out and slowly accelerate. It may take a couple of tries, but it works great. Remember, ride with another snowmobile. If your problems are more serious, he or she can always help pull you out using a rope or go for help. Riding with passengers brings additional responsibility. Both riders need to be sure the snowmobile is designed for two riders. You should be aware of the need to hold on securely at all times, keep their feet on the running boards. They should also know how to lean properly while riding. Drivers should always be in control and never attempt anything risky. All riders should be dressed and protected appropriately. A safe rider can make snowmobiling safe for the entire family. Zero tolerance means no alcohol while driving. Without a doubt, snowmobiling is a great social opportunity. But equally as firm are the statistics that reveal alcohol is the #1 contributing factor in snowmobile accidents and fatalities. More and more, the sport is becoming a family recreational pastime. It's not a place for people who are not in control. Distorted perception means you may not see what is ahead. Impaired coordination and a slower reaction time means you may not be able to avoid what's coming ahead. And losing one's natural sense of caution put you and others in a situation you may not live to tell about. Zero tolerance is the only right way to ensure your mind stays sharp and you stay in control of your machine. The partners in ISMA hope that you will find this video helpful. Some points you will use immediately and every day. Others you may not encounter for a while. Rest assured that as you keep riding, this great sport will keep you out on the trails and lure you to other destinations where new and exciting experiences exist. Your knowledge will provide you confidence, which will make your snowmobiling that much more enjoyable. Gliding down groomed trails, experiencing winter's incredible beauty, and riding responsibly with confidence that you know what you're doing is what makes snowmobiling such a great pastime. The pleasure we experience is individual, as are the responsibilities. Remember, safe riders, you make snowmobiling safe. Remember to join a club or association to make new friends and keep on top of all the fun activities that are going on. For information in Canada, contact the Canadian Council of Snowmobile Organizations, 106 Saunders Road, Unit 12, Barrie, Ontario, L4M 6E7, area code 705-725-1121. For information in the United States, contact the American Council of Snowmobile Associations at 271 Woodland Pass, Suite 216, East Lansing, Michigan, 48823, area code 517-351-4362. The members of ISMA, Artco, Bombardier, Polaris, and Yamaha hope you've enjoyed this video presentation and enjoy snowmobiling. Remember, safe riders, you make snowmobiling safe.
Welcome back, and we'll take a look at our ice edge before we get into the marine forecast. And the ice edge is continuing its southward trajectory as it grows into the Bering Sea. And with the colder weather that's on tap, with these low pressure systems staying more to the south, expect more growth in the ice edge over the coming weeks. For southeast Alaska on Monday, southeast winds 30 knots in the southern inside waters and the central inside waters. Then up into the Lynn Canal Glacier Bay area, north winds 15 knots. All the outer coastal waters have a westerly direction, 25 knots to the south to 15 knots as you get to the east Gulf Coast. By Tuesday, we'll see winds continuing to be out of the southeast in the southern inside and the central inside waters at 20 knots. North winds 15 knots up in that Lynn Canal and Glacier Bay area. The extreme southern outside waters, southwest winds 25 knots, south winds 15 knots as you move a little bit further to the north to off of Gustavus, and then southeast winds to south winds, or actually kind of variable winds, about 10 knots outside of Yakutat Bay. Taking a look at the south central region on Monday, light and variable winds in both Prince William Sound and northern Cook Inlet, light north to northwest winds 10 to 15 knots as you come down Cook Inlet. Southwest to west winds 15 to 20 knots across Kodiak Island and the Barren Islands, with west winds 15 knots along that north Gulf Coast. On Tuesday, we'll see light and variable winds in the Sound as well as south of Prince William Sound and the northern Cook Inlet. Northwest winds 20 to 25 knots off the Kenai Peninsula. Northwest winds about 30 knots over the Augustine area, with west winds 20 knots across Shelikof Strait. Northwest winds increasing to 35 knots south of Kodiak Island. And then Cook Inlet, north winds 15 knots south of Calgon Island. For your Alaska Peninsula waters on Monday, expect lighter winds in that Bristol Bay area. Northeast winds about 15 knots. West winds 30 knots on the north side of the peninsula to 45 knots to the south. You can kind of see where that frontal boundary is, with southeast winds 35 knots in advance of that front in the afternoon on Monday. By Tuesday, expect the winds to be out of the west, 25 to 35 knots over the western Alaska Peninsula, 30 knots south of the eastern Alaska Peninsula, with northwest winds 20 knots in that Bristol Bay area. For the Aleutian Islands on Monday, expect your winds to be out of the west, 40 knots over the eastern Aleutian Islands, 40 to 45 knots as you get out over the central to western Aleutian Islands. And out in the extreme western Aleutian Islands, expect your winds to be out of the west at 30 knots. By Tuesday, expect your winds to be out of the west-southwest about 25 to 30 knots over the eastern Aleutian Island region, southwest 30 knots over that central to central western Aleutian Islands, and out to the extreme western Aleutian Islands, southwest winds 40 knots. Taking a look at your Bering Sea coastal waters on Monday. Northeast winds coming off the mainland at 15 to 20 knots in that Nunivak Island region. East winds 25 knots across the Pribilof Islands, and northeast winds 35 to 40 knots from St. Lawrence Island down to the St. Matthew Island region. Taking a look at the area for Tuesday. Winds are going to come around out of the west over the Pribilof Islands. Again, here's your frontal boundary. North to northeast winds about 20 knots in that Nunivak Island region. Northeast winds 30 to 35 knots from St. Lawrence Island down to St. Matthew Island. For your Arctic coastal waters on Monday, expect your winds to be out of the north about 25 to 30 knots outside of Kotzebue Sound to over by Cape Lisburne. North to northwest winds 15 knots over the western Arctic coast towards Barrow, with west winds 20 knots over the eastern Arctic coastal waters. By Tuesday, expect your winds to be lighter over that eastern Arctic coastal region, about 10 knots there. Northeast winds 15 knots just off of Barrow, with north winds 15 knots over that Point Lay region, and then outside of Kotzebue Sound and off of Cape Lisburne, expect your winds to be out of the north at about 25 knots. Taking a look at the forecast again for tonight quickly, we do have a low pressure system in that eastern northeast Gulf of Alaska. Rainy conditions in the southern panhandle, a mixture of rain and snow to the north with heavier snowfall up into that Haines-Skagway area. Flurries and fog throughout much of the interior to the Brooks Range and the Arctic coast. We have our storm system out in the Bering Sea with that front rolling across, rain and snow throughout, spreading across the Alaska Peninsula as well as into the Pribilof Islands. Rain and snow showers behind this front across the eastern and central Aleutian Islands. For Monday, expect the low pressure to basically be dying off of the panhandle with a trough persisting, rainy, showery type conditions, a mixture of rain and snow further to the north with snow up into that northern panhandle in the Haines-Skagway area with upwards of about 8 inches of snow possible there. This low pressure is going to persist in that eastern Bering Sea, rain and snow across the eastern Aleutian Islands to the Alaska Peninsula with possibly some snow, rain over Kodiak Island. We're out of time for the show this evening. Thank you for watching.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.